temple. There's some Kira, Great Glass Spinners in the main deck. Like that, makes you more resilient to removal spells. I think that's a great position in the metagame right now. He has some main deck Gut Shots, which is interesting. It does kill Eldrazi Mimic, which is not for nothing.
Well, we're going to go ahead and join them here on game number 3. So laying out the board on Mike's side, 17 life. He has 4 lands in play, including an Aether Vial on 2 and a Mutavault. For Kevin, he has a 3/3 Endless one. He does have a Eldrazi Temple that looks like it was hit by a Spreading Seas. And at 17-13, Mike is putting up a fight against these Eldrazi.
Yeah, Kevin is not putting up much of a fight himself. We see just that 3/3. He has tons of mana, could cast anything in his deck. I did scout a second copy of Eye of Ugin in hand. So considering that the Spreading Seas is on the Temple, that's really not doing anything for him. Really just needs to find some threats.
Kira is going to be the play for Mike. An activate of Mutavault and a swing.
Yeah, even though the Endless one is larger than the Mutavault, Kevin is already behind in the damage race, and this flyer just compounds that fact.
We're kind of Eldrazi's Sky Spawner. The draw for Kevin.
It blocks Kira.
Yeah, I believe Kevin also has a copy of Drowner of Hope in hand. So plays land number 5 there. And that's going to go ahead and be the play. So Drowner of Hope is one of the breakout cards in the Pro Tour winning deck list. The 5/5 or 6 comes into play with 2 Eldrazi Scion tokens. You can sacrifice an Eldrazi Scion to tap a creature. Now, that might be hard with Kira in play, but this is still 7 power for 6 mana, or, well, for 5 if you're looking at it this way.
Right, yeah. The big factor here is that this is going to help Kevin have a more substantial mass in this damage race. Mike is down to 11. Kevin's a little bit shy of lethal just with the creatures he has in play, and if he has something like a Reality Smasher, might be able to make lethal happen pretty easily.
Here is Silvergill Adept for Mike on end step. Flashes that one in off Aether Vial. We'll go back to his turn.
At this point, that Mutavault is kind of turned off as an attacker. Mike needs to deal with this 5/5 before he can make any headway with anything other than the Kira.
Yeah, the Eldrazi certainly are large on the ground. Or maybe not. A Master of the Pearl Trident can come into play for Mike. There is an island on Kevin's side thanks to that Spreading Seas.
That's true. Unblockability makes it pretty easy to declare an attack. So the Lord would make the Adept and the Mutavault up to 8 power. The reason that this would not be lethal is if Kevin double activated the Drowner to tap one of these creatures. So while Mike actually has enough power to make a lethal team, he actually can't make a lethal attack.
Well, here's Mutavault. It's going to be a Merfolk. We'll see whether or not the Lord wants to pump it. Said it wasn't good as an attacker. I think it's going to get Island Walk here.
That makes it better.
Yeah, it's...
Though Mike runs a real high risk of dying on the crackback here. That said, if he sits around and does nothing, and Kevin just keeps casting 5/5s, things don't get better for him.
So I like this. Mike has gone to attacks, and now Kevin has to tap something. Because if he doesn't, Mike swings the team and then vials in Master of the Pearl Trident.
Right.
For exactly 8.
Kevin has seen this before, though. He's no stranger to what Aether Vial on 2 means. I believe he's played Merfolk a fair amount himself.
So he's going to sacrifice both Eldrazi Scions to tap this Mutavault.
I haven't been able to see if Mike has other options for plays. If he possibly has a Harbinger of the Tides, that could be a big tempo swing here.
Well, looks like Mike's going to go for the attack anyway with Master. So Master Pearl Trident vialed into play. A swing for 5 puts Kevin down to 3. And now we go to Kevin Jones. He has 1 turn to survive here.
And Mike just played a 4th land, so if he does in fact have Harbinger of the Tides, that could be it for this game. Yeah, Kevin already needs Reality Smasher to make his board lethal, and even then, the Lord can just jump in front of the Drowner. This game looks like it's going to go Mike's way, but we'll see what Kevin's able to muster. If he had, say, Path to Exile plus Reality Smasher, he might have enough.
I think he does have the Reality Smasher. I believe it was his draw for the turn. So it's going to make things so much closer.
Kevin does not have an obvious line to victory. I mean, he's certainly going into the tank on this one.
Now, Merfolk's an interesting one. I did not expect this deck to have be that good in the Eldrazi metagame. But see here right now some signs of life.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting how relevant Kira was against Drowner of Hope right in that interaction. That does take some punch out of the Eldrazi deck. Michael Majors actually wrote a piece covering Merfolk as a potential option for Eldrazi for StarCityGames.com recently. One thing he actually talked about, he said he didn't really care for Spreading Seas, which was interesting.
Yeah,
I've never seen a Merfolk deck without
that.
He was actually championing Reflector Mage.
I can get behind that card.
It kind of doubles up with his temple plays with Harbinger of the Tides, and that was in fact the card that Mike had here, which looks to wrap things up.
Yeah, Harbinger will be flashed into play on Mike Grouse's side. He's going to go ahead and bounce the Reality Smasher.
Yep, Smasher forces you to discard a card when targeted by a spell, but not when targeted by an ability. So Harbinger quite good against Smasher.
With that bounce, his attack's only for 8. Mike can take this damage, and the swing back looks to be lethal. And there we have it. Match will go to Mike Grouse and Merfolk, defeating Kevin Jones 2-1.
Yeah, Merfolk is definitely an interesting option. I'm sure that Spreading Seas on that Eldrazi temple actually significantly hampered Kevin's tempo in this game. We did see that he only had a 3/3 Endless one, despite having an Ayabugan in play. So how I imagine that the early game played out, Kevin's only mana accelerant until he drew into Ayabugan was probably just that temple. And so he just had to sit there and do nothing but tap 3 lands to cast an Endless one. You're well behind Merfolk if this is your curve.
Yeah, I mean, and Kevin had a Drowner of Secrets or Drowner of Hope that was delayed a turn by the Spreading Seas as well. If he had the Eldrazi Temple with the Ayabugan, he could have had it on turn 4. And one extra swing of 7 power, I mean, that certainly could be enough here.
Right, absolutely.